even talk about Black women right now. Since this is a Black,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to open it up and really just discuss African American people. Right
Yeah.
now, our communities are more impacted and at a desperation point than ever before. When we think about the crime that's happening in the African American community as a result of disinvestment from our state governments, us have not having the resources on a local level, so many systemic issues like the prison system and the workforce system and the housing system, not allowing us to take part of that fairly, has contributed to our community being more crippled than ever. On top of the fact that corporations now have no accountability, they're not paying good wages, and Trump is only going to exasperate their ability to get richer and create a permanent underclass because he's an elitist to the core. And I'm not against corporations or small businesses. I think all businesses should have the ability to thrive, but at the same time, not at the expense of creating a permanent underclass. That's some of the big I think we as African Americans need to talk about is that what president is going to help put money in our pockets and going to address many of the systematic challenges that we are experiencing at a Black community and do that in a way that brings dignity, respect, and no harm to any community. Unfortunately, under Trump's presidency, it is one community is going to benefit on the back of the others. And if we know anything about American history, who back is always good stood on? Ours. It's time that we step up and use our vote to protect our economic viability. If we protect our economic viability, we protect our whole family. We're not worried about a lot of stuff when we can send our children to decent schools. We have decent homes to live in. We can pay for the groceries with these high inflation rates. Ain't nobody gonna be robbing and killing when they hungry, fed, and with clothes on their back. So let's really talk about basic shit that's going on in American politics. And this Trump presidency, this MAGA stuff, he's treating the presidency like it's an episode of Apprentice right now. And I'm so
But that's what he does. He's a reality TV star. He turned America into like a show. But London, I'm so glad you said all those things and it was so eloquent, right? But now I'm gonna ask you a question because you talked about the economics, and I think that's important. And I was having this conversation earlier today. I actually had a poll of a few of my friends and my brother and did it because I was like, I'm not a Black man. I can't speak on behalf of what Black men think, but there's just been some conversations, and sometimes the way that they approach who should I vote for another Trump presidency, it wasn't as impassioned as I feel like sometimes what I would get from Black women. So part of that is on the economic platform. You'd have small business owners who are like, well, no, really. And I had to ask the questions like, was your business better under a Trump administration? They were like, look, financially, yeah, there were some things that worked better for my business. And then, but this would come out after for like two people I talked to, like, but that's not enough for me to ignore everything else to then say, I'm going to rock with this just because of that. Like I can work out the rest of it. Like, and one of them, I thought this was good. Like, you don't have to be a good person. Wait, you shouldn't be the president of the United States just because you're a good person, but you should be a good person in order to be the president of the United States. And that's what I said. Like that one ad I saw earlier is like, this man is literally like a rapist. Like he's also bankrupt how to make business. He's cut off, like, as far as even in his business that everybody's like, he's so great at. Like, no, people who are working for him are subcontractors and contractors who majority look like us are Black or brown people. Like they were not getting paid for their jobs. Like, you know what I'm saying? In the construction industry, there's not long cash flow. So like literally companies are going out of business for trying to be in business with this man. And then when we start talking about like the base, so even beyond just the individual, the base is very clear on where they stand and how they feel about you. So how do you align yourself with a whole party that's really on some like every time they get a chance? And it's not just the people that look like us. They got a whole list. They gonna go through the whole list, and we don't fuck with none of y'all. Excuse me, we don't French with none of y'all. So like the argument, it was hard for me to follow, but in just listening, it's like usually it comes down to the money. How is this going to work on like the taxes for my business, personally, this, that, and the other? And I feel like as Black people also, we need to start making economics our issue. I think a lot of times when people start talking about Black issues, what are you going to do? We talking about all these other things, and we need programs. and we need initiatives and we need funding, but also like we need the opportunities to be able to create for ourselves, right? And that's
That's it
not a
right there.
handout. That's a like repair what is already taken and acknowledge that, right? So Black home ownership is lower than everybody else's, right? Because y'all wasn't giving Black people home. Like literally, they could not go to the bank and get a loan. And then when they did, you told them they couldn't live over here in the community where that house was going to appreciate to build some generational wealth. Or y'all just came in and straight up took property that Black people owned that would have created generational wealth, because now we're talking about acres on acres on acres. So like none of that stuff is siloed. But if we're not talking about our economic process as a people, then I think we also are missing the point. We're always going to be in this situation. So I love that you brought that out. And I hope we start talking more about economics anytime we're having a conversation about what our politics and policies need to look like in our community.
That's why the Democratic Party is losing. We're too focused on these social issues and not talking about the money and we're because we claim to be the bent tent party, all of those things. Well, every family, no matter what your demographics are, Black, white, poor, green, straight, gay, whatever, your economic viability is the number one factor and the most important thing to you in life. That's why we get up every day and go to work. And so back to the Black men issue for me, to build on that, I think that the Democratic Party has really failed to champion the economic message, and they champion a lot of social issues that most of these don't align with Black men, especially heterosexual straight Black men, who are seen or expected to be the head of the household. The expectations for them to provide, the expectations for them to be the man, to be the strong person, to be the fighter, to be the
Show that
protector.
masculinity.
Where's the Democratic Party touching on any of those things? Is the Democratic Party really uplifting Black men in leadership? You know, they champion Black women all the time. They talk about Black women is the primary vote of the Democratic Party. The Black women, we vote 96% Democrat. But they also fail to highlight the fact that Black men vote at 94%. So it's exclusionary messaging of Black men, and they don't see themselves in any real policy issue, or none of the advocacy groups are championing issues surrounding Black men. So then
that's where Trump was.
Exactly. So he's talking about, the system messes over, as most Black men feel. A lot of our Black folks are felons who can't vote. Trump is a felon saying, I'm beating the system. And just is creaming us on the messaging when it comes to
this side. Come to this side.
Now, he's manipulating it. He's really still a bad person, and he's manipulating this messaging and tailoring it for his own purpose. So let's not be confused at the messaging, at its intent. No matter how good it is, he's a marketing guru. He's not an actual policymaker or someone who has a history of doing right by workers or people. But we are failing to differentiate what's reality and what's a reality TV show. And Kamala Harris is a reminder of what reality is, what's really going on with the Supreme Court. When they see extremism, when they see attempted assassinations, they understand this is a dangerous political climate. So are we going to go with what's real, or are we going to go with the reality show? That's the question I want to pose people. And then what's even more frustrating is, y'all, all of this, we need to do our third party. This ain't the time to do no protest vote. Like, y'all protest vote is the reason we got Trump in office in the first place, because y'all was hating on Hillary Clinton when she was just as qualified to be the first president of the United States. I ain't forgot that. So all this protest vote, all these sit out if you want to. You mad about Palestine, sit out if you want to. You mad about your rights being taken away, go and sit out this election if you want to see what's going to happen.